It is the standard by which any franchise is ultimately measured, and no bar has been set higher than that of the Spokane Shock.
Everything we do is built around getting to the championship.
6 seasons of existence, 6 playoff appearances, 5 division titles, 4 conference crowns, and most importantly, 3 times the Shock have hoisted the heaviest of hardware. Now, the thirst for a 4th title is as great as it's ever been.
So this season's huge. We want to prove that we weren't just the new kid on the block who had a kind of a good, lucky year before San Jose, before Philly, before these guys came in the league. We want to prove that not only we belong, but we're the dominant team in this league.
Tonight, an in-depth look at how the club is getting ready for another run at a championship as we count down to Kickoff 2012. The quest for another championship begins at the Shock practice facility February 16th, when players report for training camp. Some 35 players have been invited to battle for 22 roster spots. There will be many new faces in camp, and some familiar ones as well, including new head coach Andy Olson, who was promoted from offensive coordinator this past offseason. John Fritz now, with Olsen's path to the top.
For any franchise to feel the kind of fervor found in Spokane, it takes commitment common only in the most demanding of occupations. For Andy Olson, a passion for football fits perfectly into that formula. So much so, his hire was without hesitation, despite his new title at just 29 as the league's youngest head coach.
You need a leader who the guys are going to look up to and respect, and who's going to give you that hard work every single day. And the more and more we went through the interview process, all the things I was looking for, I knew in the back of my mind, but it became more and more clear that I had that already with Andy. And I knew that Andy was going to outwork anybody else we had. So I felt he has those intangible leadership qualities, but he also has that work ethic that you need at this level, and any level really, to win.
Dogler, Olsen, end zone, touchdown!
Olsen's stint in Spokane started as a player, 2 solid seasons at receiver.
This is our year, and I think we just mopped him up this week.
Led to the concept he could run the offense and finally drive the direction of the entire team.
I don't think any coach comes into a program and says, hey, let's go for 9-9, you know. And so last year, even though we made the playoffs, I think everyone was pretty disappointed with the way the season turned out. But that's my main goal, is just to keep the success running here and to stay in the playoffs and fight for that championship.
There is no question he is confident his team can achieve success. To fully understand the path to his intended destination, a look at where it started is worth the trip.
Well, Andy did a lot of this.
It is here,
Loading wheelbarrows,
on his family's farm in Chehalis, Washington,
packing bales of hay, slot us thing to free stalls,
where the characteristics of a coach,
hand stack barns like this,
were first cultivated.
Nowadays we use a machine because all the boys have grown up.
I think that if people learn to work when they're young, they're going to carry that with them through the rest of their lives, and it's going to make their jobs easier, because they're going to be more disciplined, more organized.
That was important to me, is that the kids worked hard and that they learned what it was like to do something well and get it done and work as a unit, work as a team, and try to have a good time while they were doing it.
His parents continued to work the site where those ethics were originally instilled in their 5 kids.
Hard to believe, but we milked cows for 28 years, and in those 28 years there was not a day of the 28 years that we didn't get the cows milked twice a day for 28 years.
And where Andy left a lasting impression with how his were shaped.
He was always the captain, so he just always gravitated that way. He wanted to be in charge. He wanted to be the leader. He wanted to be the responsible one. He wanted things on his back. He just didn't shy away from it.
As it turns out,
he did spend a lot of time on that tractor right there, hauling manure.
Those traits run in the family. The proof is hanging in the halls of WF West High School, where Andy's name is right alongside his dad and brothers.
I think what Paul passed to Andy, as much as the athletic ability, was that intense desire, that drive to win that he showed and Andy showed in spades.
Tim Kindle coached both generations of Olsens. He witnessed the records that still resonate from Andy's career, but swears his most impressive moment was a foreshadow of his future employment. It was his senior season in his rivalry game against Centralia.
Andy got hurt. Horrible knee injury, in fact. One that he had to work hard to overcome to play college ball. So we lost him. In the second quarter, the team just crumbled. We gave up 20 points to Centralia in the second quarter, so we're down 20-13 at halftime.
As halftime hit, the coaches circled outside the locker room, searching for a strategy to turn the team around. They never needed any of it.
Walk into the locker room, and we hear that Andy is speaking to the team. And he gave the greatest halftime speech I have ever heard. Got them so inspired and so willing to go out and do what they could. We ended up scoring a couple touchdowns in the third quarter, winning 27-20.
His playing days were far from over. What followed was 4 record-setting seasons at Western Washington. But it was clear a career route was already being cut, which brings us back to here.
This is a huge opportunity for myself, for my family. I've always wanted to be a head coach. It came a lot faster than I anticipated coming, but it's a blessing. It definitely is. I still hasn't quite set in yet, and I don't think it will until I get all the guys here and get the reactions from the players, and that's going to be when it really sets in for me.
On the surface, Andy Olson's path to this spot may seem a bit quick.
I think he's going to do a wonderful job.
Dig a little deeper, and there's no doubt it's been a lifetime in developing.
The newest member of the Shock family is Avon Olsen. Andy and his wife Jessie welcomed the youngest of their 3 kids into the world 1 month ago. It is clear how important family is to the Olsens and how thankful they are to be a part of the Shock community.
You know, everyone's so supportive, especially when we had Avon. You know, even the fans would Facebook us and, you know, let us know if you need anything. I can't wait to meet him, and it's pretty nice.
My wife has had my back the whole time, and obviously I live for my children, so having them around during practice and, you know, being able to go home to them every day and doing what I love at the same time, it's a great job.
Olsen's coaching staff should be familiar to Spokane fans. Defensive coordinator and assistant head coach Travis Crusenberry continues his second stint with the Shock. He was part of the coaching staff in 2006 when the Shock won the Arena Cup. He returned to Spokane in 2010. Clay Harrell will coach the offensive and defensive lines this season. The former fullback had 8 touchdowns in his 2 years on the Shock roster. And Stanley Franks is the new defensive backs coach. The former University of Idaho star helped Spokane win the Arena Cup championship in 2009, before playing for the BC Lions in the CFL. Here's a look at the 9 home games on the Shock schedule. The opener, Monday, March 12th, against Iowa. SWX will carry all of these games, excluding any of the NFL Network decides to carry. You can go to swxrightnow.com for the latest on the broadcast schedule. Still to come tonight, the Shock dance team is gearing up for another season. We'll have the latest with the ladies. But first, when we come back, how Erik Meyer is preparing himself to be the starting quarterback this season. It's Countdown to Kickoff. The AFL is celebrating its 25th year this season. The league will play with a slightly redesigned ball to commemorate the silver anniversary of the league. One player who can't wait to put it to use this year is quarterback Erik Meyer. He spent his entire offseason preparing for his chance to be a starter. Here's John Fritz.
It is daybreak, several weeks from the end of the Shock offseason.
There we go.
Still, the scene inside Rockwood's training center could go a long way in what kind of year it is for the franchise.
3 more.
The harder I work today in January, the easier it's going to be coming in July, the end of the season. You know, I prepare now, you know, to win at the end of the season.
When training camp starts, Erik Meyer is the man tabbed at the top of the quarterback depth chart. His time here every day, alongside trainer Tommy Boyer-Kendrick,
Keep the heels on the floor, keep the hips on the floor.
offers more than enough evidence how committed he is to that title.
4 more, 3 more, 2 more, 1.
He doesn't have to be here. It is the off season, but he chooses to be here getting ready for the season. And in my experience, working with a lot of pro athletes for 20 years now, that's not always that common. And so when you're willing to make a commitment and you're coachable, I say the rest is just X's and O's. It's easy work. I know what I'm doing. He knows what he needs to do. We show up, we get the work done. At the end of the day, we punch out, come back the next day and do it again.
Tough stuff.
It is that attitude that in part has Meyer here again. A mid-season blockbuster trade brought him back to Spokane last year, but a fluke string of injuries cut his time on the field too short. Rehab started with boxing camp at home in California and continues here. All along, his aim is to put himself in position to finish what he started.
I came into this season, I'm probably going to be one of the older guys on the team, and I have no one to blame but myself this year, and my plan is to stay healthy throughout the whole year and definitely have a way better year than last year, and not just sneak into the playoffs, but go win a championship, win the division, and being here 2 hours a day in the morning, working out at night. This is all part of the process.
His accuracy is unbelievable. His leadership, his camaraderie with the guys, it's been perfect thus far. So, I mean, the biggest thing that everyone has a question about is, can we keep him healthy? And I'm really not too worried about it. He's a great quarterback.
Andy Olson is not the only coach who believes in his quarterback.
He had just a natural way of leading. Guys just wanted to, rally around him.
Bo Baldwin was offensive coordinator at Eastern Washington when Meyer was winning the Walter Payton Award. His connection with his receivers included record-breaking numbers with future Shock star Raul Vigil.
He's one of the best college football players I've ever been around. He had such a competitiveness and a way about him, and just when the lights came on, he took it to another level.
Just as important for the Shock, it set the foundation for a return trip to the inland Northwest.
Something about this area, Spokane, the Northwest, you just get a family feel, and coming from a big family myself, it was coming up here, it didn't take me long to, call this my second home. It's awesome. These best fans in the AFL, and I just love being back here and back in the Northwest.
For fans in Spokane, the feeling is almost certainly mutual. Knowing the quarterback that begins camp, the starter, has fully prepared himself to stay that way till the end.
Meyer will have some familiar targets to throw to when camp opens, headlined by Charles Frederick. The former Washington Husky and AFL Rookie of the Year returns to Spokane for the first time since leading the Shock to the 2006 Arena Cup title. Returners from last year's offense include Brandon Tompkins and Adrian Tennell. They combined for 16 touchdown catches last year. And Big Ben Osai is back on the offensive line. The 6'6", 335-pounder is the only returner on a line that features no one smaller than 310 pounds. Defensively, Jeremy Geathers is back in camp, a big part of Spokane's 2010 championship defense. He returns after a stint in the CFL. Travis Williams and Terrence Sanders are both back in the defensive backfield.
We're really happy with who we have. Good young players. The veterans that we wanted back, we got them back, every player. And it's just, as long as we can mesh as a team, that's so important with 20 players. So if that happens, we have a chance for a real special run.
Here's a look at the 9 games on the road this season for Spokane. Select road games will also air on SWX. Check out swxrightnow.com for the latest broadcast schedule. When we come back, the Shock look to make a difference in the community. Plus, the dance team is set. We'll introduce you to this year's squad when the countdown to kickoff continues.